Hi, everybody. It's Tim Hagen from Sales Leadership Conversations, sponsored by Sales and Marketing Management Magazine. Today, we're going to be talking with Mike Carroll from Intelligent Conversations about a really unique topic, not a foreign topic, but a unique topic, certainly potentially going through a lot of changes with everything going on in the sales world. Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great, Tim. How are you today?
Good. Tell our audience a little bit about you and your company, and then we'll get into today's topic.
Sure. My name is Mike Carroll. I own Intelligent Conversations. We try and have one every day, so pressure's on, Tim. Uh, the no, our company is focused on middle market sales organizations. So I would say companies with annual revenue between like 20 and 200 million with a direct sales team. We work with the guys who sell pumps and filters or CNC machinery or SaaS software or building materials. B2B sales, reasonably complex and longer sales cycles.
Cool. And so today, we're going to talk about a topic, and I'm going to lead with a question. When you
Sure.
obviously talk to hundreds of sales managers throughout your career and probably throughout the year, when you talk to CEOs, what's the number one thing he or she says about their frustration as it relates to the organization?
So there's a couple, but I would say the number one frustration for CEOs when I talk to CEOs is inaccurate sales forecasts. Leadership teams count on what the sales VP is saying is going to happen, and not just what's going to happen, how much revenue are we going to forecast, but when is it going to hit? And often the revenue number is accurate, but the timing isn't accurate.
Mhm.
And so it slows down decision making. If you've got to hire, new operators to meet an order that you're expecting to hit, next month, and all of a sudden that slides,
Sure.
you've got overcapacity and you're wasting money and wasting resources. And so, CEOs deal with this a couple different ways. Sometimes they get frustrated, they just automatically cut it in half and they sandbag it. But I know it's a big source of frustration as they can't make timely decisions and they can't really count on the accuracy and the timing of the sales forecast.
So what are some of the top reasons that cause that inaccuracy?
Sure. Yeah, there's a handful of them, right? And they're known. That's what's so frustrating about it because we know what they are. And when sales managers begin to implement better discipline around forecasting, they can eliminate this problem or at least reduce it, right? So the number one thing is salespeople don't always follow a sales process. I know that
Mhm.
sounds counterintuitive, but you have 10 people on a sales team, you probably have 15 different sales processes, depending
Mhm.
on the time of day and the day of the week. Not everyone does it consistently. So if you've got a team of salespeople kind of winging it and doing their own thing and saying, "Oh, I got my own style," well, when they say, well, this opportunity is at this point in the sales process, that may mean something very different from one salesperson to the next. So the number one thing a company can do to improve forecast accuracy is to implement a rigorous milestone-centric sales process. And if everybody understands what are the stages, what are the commitments we need to gather from the buyer along the way, from the prospect along the way, we'll have a lot more confidence and salespeople
Mhm.
can give a more accurate description of this is where I really am. I can check all these boxes and I know that I'm at this point in the sales process. So that's probably the biggest thing.
So when you think about the emotional part, because a lot of times we're not very honest with ourselves as salespeople,
Right.
we tend
Right.
to think it's going to close next Tuesday and we can even be 6 months away. What are the reasons behind that? And what are some of the suggestions you would give to our sales managers out there?
Right. So aside from not having a documented milestone-centric sales process, I think happy years or that emotional, like they hear what
Yeah.
they want to hear, that's probably the next driver, right? And part of that is really effective listening and working with them and having good effective sales management debriefs and really going through and coaching them to, did you really hear that or is that an assumption you're making, right?
Mhm.
I think part of what drives happy years or maybe a lack of rigor in the discovery process to help the prospect build a case for making an investment is one of the 6 sales DNA competencies that we measure when we work with sales teams, and that's a competency called need for approval. That's where it's more important for the salesperson to be liked by the prospect than to win the business. How does that impact them? Well, they don't ask tough questions. They don't ask questions 2, 3, 4 questions deep. They kind of skim along the surface and they mask themselves behind this idea of I'm a relationship guy.
Right.
And instead of digging in and really creating urgency and really almost getting out of their comfort zone and making the prospect a bit uncomfortable with their current situation. That's where you really start to create that urgency that makes them want to buy and move forward faster. And if you do that, if you have those tough conversations, if you really, press them on it, that's where you can start to get to the issues that then help you forecast more accurately. Know, hey, I'm confident because if they don't fix this, here's the consequence that they're going to have.
Well, we talk a lot in our business about in the non-sales coaching world, about self-awareness and that needs for approval almost is like a mind game. It almost forces them not
Right.
to be in reality. So if there's one thing a sales manager could do besides digging deep, what's a suggestion you would give to a sales leader who might be dealing with this?
So the number one thing is sort of the Jedi mind trick, if you will. If you have a person on your team who has high need for approval, and you can either hire someone like us to measure that, or you can pick up on it though. You can tell when they're asking only surface level questions and not digging deep, and when they describe themselves as a relationship person, instead of worrying about whether they're liked, have them worry about whether they're respected. And it's
Mm,
amazing when you make that one word change, instead of going into a call and thinking, you know what, win, lose, or draw, by the end of this conversation, this prospect's going to respect me. It emboldens and empowers them to ask tougher questions, to
mm.
probe a little bit deeper, to get out of their comfort zone. And so that little mind shift is really impactful in terms of the quality of the questioning that happens that then drives better forecast accuracy. The other thing a manager can do, just one last thing,
Sure.
is part of the inaccurate forecasts is a lack of discipline when it comes to holding the team accountable.
Hmm.
And I talked to hundreds of managers, I've worked with thousands, right? It's hard to admit sometimes when you're letting people slide, but if you manage agreements and you say this is what this means, so rigorous milestone centric sales process, and then really being disciplined about, hey, you can't put that deal there because you didn't check all these boxes or you
Right.
didn't do all these things, and holding them accountable. So we always talk about manage agreements, coach people. The agreements you manage create the accountability, and then as you know, then you coach. If they struggle to meet their agreement, then you have to coach them and figure out, well, what's going on, why are you not able to do that? And that's where you get into the coaching conversation.
The process almost becomes your partner in the coaching. Interesting.
100%.
So today, everybody, what we talked about was forecast, and we talked about some different techniques sales leaders can deploy. And I love Mike's depiction of that need for approval. And I often make the joke that salespeople don't qualify for reality shows very well because we want to believe what we want to believe because it's a tough business. But asking those defining questions can make a world of difference. So, Mike, how does someone get a hold of you and your company?
So you can go to our website, intelligentconversations.com, or just email me, Mike at intelligentconversations.com.
Awesome. Well, this is another episode of Sales Leadership Conversations. Thanks for your time, everybody.
Thanks, Tim.